and each prime minister should have said, as they did in Belarus, in Tanzania, and in Brazil, no, this doesn't make any sense. And that's why it was, obvious for someone like me to say, without any prevention and treatments, it was 1% of the annual flu season. But the real question is, why are doctors not telling people about vitamin D, C, and zinc, and not prescribing preventative, the Dr. Zelenko protocol, hydroxychloroquine and zinc, or ivermectin? And none of the people in Italy need die, none of the people in New York, none of the people in Wuhan. And so also after May 2020, when I came out, I said that I would take full responsibility to end the lockdown because I knew there was prevention and treatment. No one would die after May from this illness. And so that should have happened. It's actually all of those deaths rests on the shoulders then of the prime ministers and minister for health for not making prevention and treatments available. And so what really I think this has been about, I've been studying this for 20 years, this pandemic, it's fear mongering. Yeah, it's making people be afraid. And they use a lot of psychology by using trusted celebrities. They have it on the news, it's essentially propaganda. And they are trying to instill fear. And unfortunately, maybe up to 80% of our population are prone to not critically analyzing what's going on. And if they are put through a kind of a mechanism of fear, their ability to critically analyze what's going on is diminished. And they then decide, when you're in a fear state, which is well known from psychology, and it has been used in war situations before, is that people kind of are frozen in fear, and then they will do whatever they are told to do, which is essentially being manipulated, or which is essentially, I would say, a crime to people, because the media, the politicians, and the medical professions are not telling them there's no need for fear, no one need die, go about your lives. So and that's why when May 2020 said that fear mongering, not making preventions and treatments available, causing huge unnecessary death because of the lockdown, because of the fear. And also people were afraid to go into hospital with cancer, with chronic pain, with heart attacks, that essentially the politicians had to have known what they were doing. So it's really a crime against the people. It's malfeasance, which means you knew or you should have known. And there were some insidious steps that they took, like in Ireland and in the United Kingdom. They stopped tracking the number of suicides, because it's well known when you fearmonger and have lockdowns, people have killed themselves by suicide. But they stopped counting the numbers from April, before the peak in suicides happened. So in Ireland and in the United Kingdom, which means the ministers and prime ministers made that decision. So they knew that their action of the lockdown was going to cause more deaths. So the lockdown has probably caused 10, 20, 50 times more deaths from, not treating cardiovascular disease, not treating chronic pain, no access to surgery, not treating rapid cancers, and causing issues like suicide and depression. So it's shocking. And I think what we now move to is another phase, is that really what this is about is undermining the very fabric of our society. So small businesses have been decimated when large businesses have been opened. It makes no sense. And also, the travel industry, the tourist industry, hotels and restaurants have been closed unnecessarily. And the government is trying to give people money, but at some stage there won't be any taxes, because the economy has gone down hugely, to actually fund the society. And also the isolation and not allowing families and communities and churches and choirs and schools to gather together, as well as sports events and theatres and tourism industry, is just decimating our society. So really, I think this is about, it never was about a virus, because if they were concerned about health, they would have done prevention and treatment. There was no need for a vaccine. And if they were really worried about society, education, job creation. There was zero reason for the lockdown.
Wow.